Yeah.
So Barry, casting your mind back, even
Yes.
when you started your career and those things, what are some of the extra skills that you needed? Some of them are a bit benign, soft, that kind of thing, but they are very, very crucial. What are some of them?
I would tell you this. One is just being able to relate to people. And how do you relate? I talk about communication. Communication
Yes.
is primary. Is soft skill number one. I will put up there is your ability to communicate, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to express what you're thinking, and that's the way you're going to be able to receive from other people trying to understand what somebody else is communicating back to you. So I would say if your soft skill number one is being able to communicate.
Awesome. We are so excited to be here today, because today I'm going to be talking to an amazing friend of mine. And he is a treasure trove of knowledge, not just from his brother as well. You know, in a couple of years back, I used to work for a company called Asst. I think before we were Broadlane, and we got merged into Asst's family. And he was my only African brother in that whole entire organization. I think a couple of thousand employees, right?
That's correct.
Yes. And he's none other than Mr. Pereari Aboro. And originally he was born, just like I'm from Ghana. He originally from Nigeria, but he's doing amazing things. I moved back, and he's doing some awesome things. But I think the key point here is that we're going to have a chat. And currently he is an assistant vice president for a bank in America called Synchrony Bank. It's one of the fastest growing banks in the US right now. And he's going to share more of his knowledge and what his journey has been with us. So without much ado, let me just welcome my brother to this episode, man. You're most welcome.
Oh, thank you very much, Sir Isaac. Thank you very much for having me. Those are very high and kind words for you to say, man. Yes, you're a brother to me. Yes, I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm married to a Ghanaian, so I'm Ghanaian by association.
Oh, wow.
I'm we're one and the same, and so it's a very big pleasure and honor to be invited to this podcast to chat with you, and hopefully, I would say some things that will be sage.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
So where do you stand with this Ghana jollof and Nigeria jollof thing?
Oh no, you two are gonna ask me that question again? Well, see, Ghana, Nigeria jollof.
Yeah.
My brother almost set me up on my wedding day to ask me after my wedding. He's like, which do you prefer? And he was broadcasting live, and I said, you're not going to tempt me. So, Sir Isaac, you two, you're not going to tempt me. I love my wife's jollof. I will eat any jollof that is put before me. So
whether it's Ghana type or Nigeria type,
I will eat whatever is put before me. So I enjoy both. Let me just put it that way.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so can you share with us a little bit what you're currently doing? I kind of tried to tee it up, but if you can share a little bit.
Not a problem. I'll be happy to share. Well, as Isaac said, I work for a financial services company here in the United States. I'm part of a team that manages about a $4 billion portfolio.
Okay.
I manage the credit life cycle from acquisition to account management. So in other words, simply put, in layman's terms, we're looking at who do I give credit? How are they performing? And looking at the performance and tracking that over time and seeing, are we getting a return on that investment? And so I manage from end to end the start of that process, from getting the client, how we use it, developing strategies to see who we approve, and ultimately managing that relationship over time as the client matures with us. So it's lots of data analysis. Exactly.
Yes.
Moving parts of that and just looking at different aspects of the customer engagement and experience.
Wow.
That's what I do. So
Wow. That is amazing. So I'm just going to break it down a little bit. In terms of I want to speak everyday language. Some people
No
may say,
problem.
this is some big high level things. Okay,
No, it's
let me
not.
break it down. The American system is based on credit, right? So typically, if you'd want to buy anything, typically most people buy based on credit. So if you don't have credit, you can't buy a house. If you don't have credit, you can't buy a car. If you don't have credit, you can't do many things, right?
Very true.
So credit is so important. But how do you give that kind of credit? You have to have a way to track if the person that you're going to give credit, they have the credit worthiness.
Yes, an ability to pay.
Ability to pay, right?
Yes.
Ability to pay. So I'm guessing your portfolio has to do with assessing both individuals looking for credit and corporations, right?
For the most part, it's largely a consumer based, but we do have some a small commercial book, where we have companies that apply for credit. So yeah, but it's mainly consumers, looking at consumers and how do they qualify. To your point, as you try to explain, do they meet our criteria so that we can give them money and they can pay us back eventually. So that's important because you don't want to give out you don't want to give out money and not get paid back, because that you run into problems that way. So
that is awesome. That is awesome. So for me, even before we get into the weeds of it, I think one of the things that working with you, both in Broadlane and moving to MedAssets, one of the skills that I knew, I think at the point right before probably I left, I don't think I'm on the floor that we were. There was anybody, probably, I don't know, who probably was that good when it comes to like data analysis, especially using queries, all these standard query languages and things. I think you became a pro at that. Yeah. Thomas, and this is like several years ago. It's not like today.
Yes, that's very true. That was for me was an entry point into what I do to today, in the sense that I learned a lot. Working side. Sadiq is giving a lot of high praises, but he was also a don back in the day, and so it was always looking to aspire to say, okay, what is Isaac doing, and what can I do? So, but yes, I use a lot of technology, and my technical skills are coming very handy. Trying to statistically analyze. If I'm going to try to, in layman's terms, break down what I do, it's trying to use data to make an informed decision.
So that's amazing.
That's literally just what it is. And it's just about looking at the data, looking at the statistics of the data, looking at statistical properties and qualities of the data, and say, okay, based on this statistical bit on this statistic, we can make X, Y, and Z assumptions and test certain hypotheses. So that's pretty much what I do. Looking at there's a lot of analyzing data and presenting data to my end users and say, okay, based on X, Y, and Z, this is my recommendation. So I end up making recommendations with whatever analysis I do.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Yes.
Wow. So with that, can you share a little bit? I just want to know a little bit about your journey from Nigeria to how you find yourself from Niger to where you are, today. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a backstory, and we want to peel a little bit of that onion to see where how your background was like. You come from some rich family, that kind of thing.
No. Hardly so, Isaac.
Take you to America.
No. To your point, everybody has a story, and I'm an open book, and so I'll gladly share with you my story. I came to the U.S. to pursue my education. I was fortunate to come and pursue an education in the U.S. I did an undergrad and eventually went on to do my master's, and then after my master's, I got an opportunity to work for a company in the telecom space. I worked in the telecom space for about 2.5 years, and then unfortunately, at the time when I was working in that space, was I'm going to give some high points just so that reference points for people, just and you can go do your homework online and research some of these things I'm going to share. Right. When I was graduating was the end of the .com bubble, and so that's when technology companies that had come. I resulted from the .com. You remember the Y2K?
Yes.
A lot of technology companies were going bust, and unfortunately, my company, which was a very big company at the time, eventually had to went back bankrupt, fold up, and so I moved on from that experience and moved on to Broadlane, as Isaac talked about.
Right.
And that's where he and I began this brotherhood and friendship that he talks about. Right. I worked in MedAssets in Broadlane, and then we got acquired by MedAssets. And I was there for, I think, about 4 years in the healthcare space. And that's the healthcare space,
right.
Working in the healthcare space, doing similar stuff with my education. My undergrad was mathematics and economics.
Okay.
My master's was I have an MBA in finance, and I also have a master's.
Yes, I was going to say that you have a two master's degree.
Yes,
two master's degrees. Yes, one of these weird guys, very bright, weird guys.
Well, there's always a story or a reason behind everything we do. So it was an opportunity to arm myself to give myself the best opportunity, and I took that opportunity, and awesome. I'm grateful. Would I recommend doing two masters at the same time? Probably not. But
we'll get there. We'll get to that point. Yes. We'll get to that point. Yes. So which school was this? Where did you do your undergrad and where did you do your masters?
My undergrad was at Principia College. It's a private college. And then I did my master's in Southern Illinois University. This is in Illinois.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And
wow.
And thereafter, I said, I came to work for Nortel in the telecom space, and then for Broadlane.
Oh, Nortel was a big company in Dallas.
Yes. Yeah. It was a very big company. It was very big huge. Company. So yes. And then I worked for Broadlane. Broadlane got acquired by MedAssets. I was at MedAssets. And then an opportunity presented itself for me to go work in Minneapolis for Target.
Okay, also, the retail group.
Yes, exactly. That's right. I went to work for Target I worked for them for about a year and a half, and thereafter I went to work in another industry again, in the airline industry for Southwest Airlines. I was at Southwest Airlines for about 2 years, and then I moved to Synchrony, where I am right now, and I've been there for 5 years and counting. So I've been around in several industries, and I've continued to arm myself with different skill sets as I go along. And today I'm doing what I do, and I love what I do. I'm happy with what I do, and I'm happy for the company I work for. So
yes, that is awesome. That is awesome. So knowing what you know now, I know that you very you do analytical. So I'm going to extrapolate that all that you did when you left MedAssets to work for Target, and then from Target to Southwest, all those were typically analytical roles, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Working with data.
They were mainly analytical roles, but it was also infused with having some business. I have to engage in the business and stakeholders. So my role has always been kind of at an intersection of where you intersect analytics with understanding the business and bringing that together. So at Southwest, for example, I worked with a strategy and innovation team, and what we did is, we're using data to advise business. So we have to understand business processes and using data to say, okay, this is what the data is telling us. Let the science also guide us, but I said, this is what the data is telling us we can do. This is where we can make adjustments here and there. So my roles have typically been, and very heavily analytical.
Heavy data.
Yes, data, and using analysis and trying to analyze data and say, okay, let's analyze and let's see how can we tease out this information from the data, and what does this look like to present that recommendation. So that's most of my roles that have been that. A similar thing to what I do. I can't tell you. Is it 50-50 or there's a lot of kind of project management, managing project management, and also being able to do my own analysis and analyze data and say, okay, this is my recommendation. So there's a little bit of that I do and I've done. So
I think I'm just thinking way back, and also knowing who you are personality wise, I know that apart from just the analytical stuff that you do, the data stuff, you're also very good at communication. Pereari is very, very good communicator. So in what you do, in what role does great communication play in what you do?
Oh, great communication is up
Mm,
there. It's
mm,
it's right next to being able to analyze data, because if I can analyze data and I can communicate what I'm seeing or what I'm finding, it
all
breaks
right.
down. So great
Okay.
communication is a very important skill set to have in my role and in my function, because I'm interacting with different stakeholders. I'm talking to different functions. My function is a credit function. So there's, as you can imagine, there's a marketing function that I always interact with marketing people, who marketing people think differently from how I think. There's a
Yeah.
finance function. I interact with financial people. So the only way to communicate, yes, you can use the data to communicate with those functions, but I need to be able to express what I'm seeing clearly to them and to leadership, to say, hey, leaders, this is what I'm seeing. Let's make an adjustment this way or make an adjustment one way. So communication is very, very critical, and has been very critical for me through my career, just being able to communicate. I've always said, even when I started my career,
Mhm.
I never want to be boxed in and say I'm an analyst because I'm analytical. No,
Yes.
no, because you can get boxed in and say just go be an analyst and behind the scenes. I have always wanted to be a good blend of, what, I can do the analytical work, but I
Yes.
also want to be able to communicate. I like to talk to people, as you can see. I like that.
Yes,
So
you are. I know
so
you.
so I like to engage people. I think
Yes.
and so communication is the way through which you engage and interact with people. And so being able to communicate my work is a very big. It's, if you want to progress, you have to be able
Mm,
to communicate. I think, and not just even my role. I think in general, if you want to progress beyond having the skill sets that you need to do your job, you need to be able to communicate. Those who are able to communicate, someone like
mm.
Sir Isaac, he says, Isaac is a very excellent communicator himself, and that's why he's done very well for himself. And so,
Thank you, sir.
I've learned a thing or two from Sir Isaac also, and just how to
No,
communicate.
we were the only two Africans there, and sometimes when life becomes difficult, we just go to the cafeteria, and then we'll have chit chat about
That's very true.
Africa, and
Very
and
true.
it was always like that.
Yes,
And
very true.
so I think currently where you are, I think most people, especially when it comes to grads who are on the continent of Africa, and also another subset that you'll be surprised also listen to this program will be Africans like you and I in the diaspora, just like you,
Mm.
who are starting to do what you did. You remember when we were starting our careers in America, there was not really anyone to look up to talk
Oh
to
yeah.
us. We were just shooting blank. Basically, we didn't know all the unwritten rules in the corporate workspace and that kind of thing. So we may have made some mistakes that could probably costed us a little bit, but we didn't even know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here we are sharing our little, you know, pieces of nuggets here and there. So in
Yes.
terms of, I would want to drill a bit deeper between the softer side of the skills that's needed for a role like yours, and also some of
Yes.
the hard skills that are
Yes.
needed. So let's start with the hard skills. So
Yes.
in terms of the hard skills, what are some of the tools that you use in your trade? I mean, if some of them are proprietary to your organization, which
Yeah.
is fine, but there
Yeah.
are others that are general,
Yes.
that I would want to I want to explore, so that when somebody is looking to probably get in this kind of field, they will be able to start thinking about, okay, I need to probably become proficient in this and that,
Yes.
instead of shooting blank and wasting years to get
Yes.
there. Yeah. So
Yes.
if you can take that for me.
That's a very good question, and I'm
Mhm.
happy to answer this. There's several tools for in terms of, and I'll say this before I go, before
Mhm.
I proceed, that once you know one tool in the analytical space, the skill sets are very transferable from one tool to the next.
It's true.
Like Isaac said, when we
Mm.
worked together, and let me backtrack for a second. When I started my
Mhm.
career, I started working with SAS. SAS
Okay.
is a statistical and analytical software. It's
Okay.
a very popular software globally. It's a
Is it
big,
still around, right?
yeah, still very much
SAS.
around. SAS,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I started working with SAS, and then I transitioned, and where Isaac and I worked together was a heavy Microsoft SQL shop. It
Yes.
was SQL environment. And so I
Mm.
spent several years, over 10 years, working in SQL environment. Even though I started 2 years when I started my career, I started in SaaS. Now, fast forward to today, I'm back in a SaaS environment. And the point I was just trying to make there is that, you know
Wow.
what, the skill sets that, the skill sets have been transferable for me as I've moved along. So SaaS is a very big platform that we use here. And
Mm.
so those skill sets can transfer to if you use Oracle, SQL, PL, SQL, just being able to query data
Query
is
data, yes.
is a very important skill set. So if there's anything that you take out of what I'm saying, being able to query data, SQL, there are
Mm.
different SQL platforms that you can learn. Once you learn the basic, it's very transferable across different areas, and that's how it has worked for me. In addition to SQL, I still believe I'm a firm believer, and you won't believe this, that one of my jobs that I got was because I said this, and you can go say that your own in the next interview. But I'm a firm believer that Microsoft Excel is the greatest BI tool there is out there.
Hands down.
Yes, and the reason why I say that is this, is because no matter where you go, whatever tools you use, you somehow end up coming back to Excel to look at your data. So Excel is a starting block for
Yes.
anything analytical that you want to do. That is, I know, and I said that in my interview for this thing, and when I got hired, my manager told me, it's like, you know what, it's because you said that. That's why I hired. I'm like, really?
Wow.
I was like,
So,
really? Well,
so
but I truly believe, I truly believe that, because, like I said, and I've worked in different. I've seen Tableau. Tableau is for
yes, I was
visualization.
going to go there. I was going to go to Tableau, but I'll let
Tab,
you know.
tab,
Look, go on.
Tableau is also, I use some of Tableau here. Tableau is for visualization and being able to visually explain, because when you crunch in data,
Mm-hmm.
you have to make it easily to be easily assimilated by leaders. My leaders are very busy, so they're not going to go into all the weeds. I go into
They
all the
want,
weeds
yeah,
to pull it out for them and say, okay,
and then
this
see
is
the
the highlight.
visuals.
This
Yeah,
is the visual. So Tableau is for visual expression of those ideas. So I've used Tableau, but like I said, even if you use Tableau, even if you use SAS, even if you use Python, you still find out and end up in Excel. And so Excel is the greatest BI tool. So for anybody out there who's listening,
mm,
if you want to do anything analytical, interesting analytical, I recommend having a basic foundation of how you can do analytics in Excel.
in
There are many
Excel.
tools out there to teach you out there. If you want to use Excel Basic in YouTube, Google that. You see there are videos that will pop up. There are many tools out there and many opportunities to learn it. I would just say, if you're interested
Yes.
in analytics, that would be my starting point for you. And then you can, as you get exposure, because some of this software, it's not easy to acquire as an individual.
No, as an individual.
Yes,
SAS, no chance.
exactly.
Yeah,
Because they're very expensive. So
it's very expensive.
it's so Excel. There's more opportunities for you to access Excel than SAS or some other tools. And in my experience, and I'll say that you build your skill sets with whatever environment you find yourself in. I found myself when I started my career with SAS. I did some SAS when I was doing in grad school, so that gave me the
Yes.
opportunity to do SAS in my career. And then when I switched over to Microsoft, those skill sets became transferable, and I was working at Microsoft. So skills, your skill sets evolve with you, but
Mm.
if you want a starting point, Excel is your entry point, is what I would say. And I can call so many different tools. I've
Yes.
I've seen different tools. I've worked with different tools, doing similar things like what I'm trying to do, just looking at data and trying to analyze data, and then ultimately presenting that data. That's you
That
know,
that
those are
that is
I've seen
awesome.
lots of tools. Seen lots of
Yes,
tools. So,
that's
but
awesome.
Excel's starting point is what I would say. Just learn Excel, basics in Excel. You'll be surprised what it can do and what you can do with Excel.
Yeah, I don't know. Perry, correct me if I'm wrong. I would push anyone who is interested in this field a little bit further. That yes, the basics are good, but I think if you want to get into things like deep data analysis and analytical environment like that, then you have to target to become proficient in Excel at least to the advanced level. I don't know whether and we could mention. I think things like you should be able to do simple things like VLOOKUPs and things, some pivot tables,
Yep.
some nested if statements.
Yep.
I think if I'm looking at it from the point of view that if you go in with that level of strength, it opens doors for you quicker. You remember when we were at Broad Lane and the hire analysts, most of the time it was mixed bag. Sometimes you get good, others like somewhere not so good, and the company would just tag them along anyway. But within the team, we knew who was who and who was. I remember there was this guy who was like a machine for us. What was his name? From something, I've forgotten the name. Tom Bozart was one of them.
Yes, Tom.
Yes,
that's right. Yes, Frankie. Yes,
he's superb guys. So, and those guys were really, really high. They were writing Visual Basic codes and those kind of things. You may not need that, but I just threw this thought out there, and I just
that's a valid starting point. I was working on the premise that just a starting point, and to Isaac's point, you have to be proficient at the very least be at Excel. And there are other tools. I didn't even call a few other tools.
Right.
I don't use them in my day to day. I've seen there's R language, which is open source. Open source. There's Python, which is big. I don't use Python. I'm still trying to learn my Python also. So you see, I'm still learning.
Wow, that's a good point there. Even at the level, you're still learning.
Oh, I'm still learning. You see, and learning never stops. You're still learning, and so there are the tools that I haven't called out there that are still in use that I don't use them daily, and so I didn't want to speak to them. But there are lots of tools. But to Isaac's point, you have to be very proficient in Excel, and don't worry if you're not right now, because let me tell you a secret. Once upon a time, I was where you were. When I was where you were,
yes,
I did not start. I did not start knowing all I know in just one day. It doesn't happen that way.
No,
it happens over time. It happens over, Isaac called a few names of people we've worked with. It's associated with different people, and as you see different people, you pick and learn what you want to learn and add to your toolkit and evolve as you go. Remember that your career is a marathon; it's not a sprint.
Yes.
And so it doesn't happen overnight. If I reflect back to when I started my career, I don't know all of I don't know, but my willingness to learn, and so there has to be a willingness to learn what you need to learn to thrive in whatever environment you find yourself. And so I would challenge anybody out there who's wanting to get into an analytical type role to start with the basics and build up, and the more time you spend doing, you become that which you're doing. And so that's what I'll leave you. If there's anything I leave you with, but you just have to do incremental. If it's daily, spending time with whatever you want to learn, you have to invest in learning what you want to add to your toolkit. And I've invested, I can look back and I've invested years, and so my skill set is what it is, just because over time I've invested. And so if you do the same thing, I promise you that you can be where I am. You can be sitting and saying the same thing I'm saying to others. People say, hey, you have to be patient. It's a process. You have to be patient and persevere.
It is.
So that's what I will leave you to, and add to what Isaac said.
That's awesome. That is super. That is so awesome, because these things take, as you said, they do take time. And as you do them, I believe in doing things in smaller bite-sized chunks, but on a consistent basis. So if that leads me to my next question. So now I'm seeing two pivotal skills that anyone looking to get into high-level data, high-level analytical roles need to master. I'm hearing SQL, any kind of SQL program that you can learn. That is core. I'm hearing Microsoft Excel, and even these days, by extension, Google Sheets. I think they are like brothers and sisters. Right.
Yes.
So those are the two things I'm hearing as foundational. Then, depending on the resources or the organization that you work for, they may have systems that are like high end, like SAS and Tableau and the rest. That you can learn on the job. But if you have those two foundations, I think even learning those become easier. So, Barry, to that point,
I'll add one more to that. If you're wanting to move just beyond analyzing data, you want to be able to present the end product of your work. I would add to that some form of PowerPoint, being able to present your work, because you're not going to present your work in Excel. You're going to do your work in Excel, but you're going to present it in PowerPoint.
Yes.
In a form. So I would add that if you want to go to the next level and keep going to the next level, I would add just being able to present.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. So we've got 3 pillars, right? So the presentation is key, because without that, your work is zero. Or somebody will go and present it for you and take all the glory and all the perks that will come with it. So that is key. So in terms of learning cycle, for instance, if I take, let's say I want to be proficient in SQL, not to the highest of the highest level, but I just want to be able to know my way around, maybe, that kind of thing. What time frame do you think somebody who is probably consistent, willing to put in maybe every week, a couple of hours every week, if they are that consistent, how long do you think it may take them for them to be able to know their way around?
If I was to throw a time frame, if you're consistently
ballpark.
Ballpark. If I was going to throw a time frame, I would say anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. You can get the basics down.
The basics,
and there are tools online that you can use to get that exposure. These days, YouTube videos have, even if at least you have a visual of what they're doing, you can see what they're doing. You can get a sense of what's going on. And there are a lot of open learning environment. There's Coursera out there. There's Udemy. There's EDX. There are a lot of all of that. And if you're thinking that you have to pay for some of those you don't have to pay for, you can take the free ones and build from there. And so there are a lot of free resources out there that you can leverage, and I encourage you to do that. But if I was to throw a time frame, and it's very hard, because I know that that there's a part of doing that allows you to hone that craft. And if you're not doing what you are learning, it's
on
like
a day-to-day basis.
It's like a language. If you don't use a language, I can't remember. I've heard somewhere that there's a time frame. If you don't use a language, you start to forget. And so in same token, if you don't use a skill set, you might start to forget it. Once you get exposure and start doing it consistently, I promise you, as you explore, we all have an innate ability to learn, and that that innate ability to learn would continue to expose you and expand and stretch yourself to become more and do more than you're currently doing. So I would say, for starters, if I was to put a time frame like that, 6 to 10 weeks of consistently, and I would say an hour a day. So an hour a day at least in the 6 to 10 weeks, you become knowledgeable, and you'll be able to have a conversation about the tool sets, and then as you get exposure to start doing it, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, whether it's working on a project, you continue to expand on that skill set. So that's what I would throw out there if I was to throw a time frame.
Yes, it's true, and I think the same holds for Excel as well. And I think what my recommendation would be, sometimes you learning, you have to learn these things if you want to get going. Probably one of the things that I've noticed is that, unlike in the States and even Europe, right, where proficiency for these kind of analytical skills are kind of baked in. Sometimes they are baked in within the academic activities in college. My experience here is that is the opposite. So most people will finish school, they will come out, and they don't have any of these type of, technical digital skills exposure within the college or the university setting. So they come up severely deficient in this area. Severely, and I mean no joke at all. It's just like very severe deficiency. So I believe if you follow what Pereari is saying, that within a period of 6 to 10 weeks, and you consistently on a weekly, a daily basis, you will get the proficiency. And for me to even take it a step further, I would say if you can't find where to apply, go and volunteer somewhere. Go and volunteer somewhere that needs your skill, because not many people have that skill here. I can tell you for a fact. Not many organizations have that. Just go, raise your hand. I say I've learned SQL. I'm a pro at Excel. Yes, I just want a place to help so that you can practice whilst you're waiting for the big gig. I don't know. It's just a thought that came to my mind.
No, that's a very good thought, Sir Isaac. That's a very, very, very good thought. Very good thought. I think.
Awesome. So now let's segue into the I would say soft skills. You and I, we came from an African descent. Basically, what are some of the things that you need to work for a corporate organization apart from all those hard skills? What are some of the, I would say, softer skills that you need? Because see, for us, we typically don't have mentors. Working in those kind of big corporate international organizations where you typically are going to be the minority in those kind of environments. If you are in such a boat or in such a scenario, and I know there are some of our audience, they watch from Europe and in the US as well. I can tell most of we guys, we didn't have mentors, and I don't even see mentors around today. That's why we are doing what we are doing. So Perry, casting your mind back, even when you started your career and those things, what are some of the extra skills that you needed? Some of them are a bit benign, soft, that kind of thing, but they are very, very crucial. What are some of them?
I would tell you this. One is just being able to relate to people. And how do you relate? I talk about communication. Communication is primary. Is soft skill number one. I will put up there is your ability to communicate, because that is the only way that you're going to be able to express what you're thinking, and that's the way you're going to be able to receive from other people trying to understand what somebody else is communicating back to you. So I would say if your soft skill number one is being able to communicate. If I was also to reflect also and see what other soft skills would I want to say is by virtue of working when you're dealing with human institutions or working with humans in general in any avenue, there's opportunity for conflict to happen. So being able to persevere and work through conflict, because you're going to have different opinions trying to come to the table. So being able to work through all of that is a soft skill that I would say is highly valuable. Another one that I would think that is valuable that I think I'm still working on today, and is that never think that you always have to have all the answers.
I like that one.
And I used to put a lot of pressure on myself earlier in my career, thinking that I needed to have the answer, because if someone asks a question, that means that means they assume that I know. But no, that's not the case. Remember, I said we all have an innate ability to learn. So if a question is asked and you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't have the answer right now, but I can get you the answer. Just give me some time. I wish I had done more of that earlier in my career, because because it just you put unnecessary pressure on yourself, stressing yourself and worrying over nothing. When you know what the truth about it is that our careers are opportunities for us to reduce our unknown. How do you reduce your unknown? By learning. And how do you learn? You learn from people that know more than you in any arena. And the truth about it is, in any arena, someone is always going to know more than you, and that is okay. Because you are willing and able to learn to know what that person knows, and that is how you improve yourself and better yourself. So for me, that one is something that I have, I wish I had known, and I still do today. It's like, you ask me a question, well, let me think about that. I don't know the answer right in this minute, but I think I can get to the answer, and I'll circle back with you when I have the answer. So just don't feel like you always have to have the answer. If there's any other soft skill, I would say that you need to have, I would say, the ability to to endure and be patient. It's a long career. Is not it's not a sprint, like I said earlier on. It's a
Yes.
marathon. So you have to have the endurance. If you think about a marathon, it's who has the longest endurance comes out ahead. You have to be able to endure the whole process. Whole process. See the process through, and so you need
Yes.
that
That
endurance and
ability.
that ability to do that. And that's something that you build over time, just knowing that one, I'm not going to worry about things I can't control. So don't worry about things you can't control. Worry about things that you can control. That's another soft skill I'm throwing out there.
Yes.
Is the things you can control are how you show up every day. What is
Mm-hmm.
your attitude, your mental
Yes.
attitude to this thing? Even if you're given tasks that you don't like to do, but doing them to the best of your ability, being the
Ability.
best version of yourself every day is very important, in my opinion. So I've thrown a few out there. If
Yes.
anyone resonates with any of you out there, I hope that you
Yes.
can hone those skills, and I continue to hone them. I won't tell them I'm a master of all or any of those. I just continue to. If you notice, the life life in general, beyond your career, is about
Yes.
innate ability to learn, being teachable, and life will teach you what you need to learn as you progress if you allow life to. So you have to invest in learning, invest in continuous learning. As long as there's breath in your lungs, that's what I'll
Yes.
say you have to do also. So
Yes.
those
Yes.
are things soft skills. I think that should help anybody out there, in my opinion.
Yes. And I'm glad with you brought this points out. I think one thing that I admire, about you is, looking at where, we started and that kind of thing, and then getting to where you are today. I know you are not a very, you don't get easily carried away by titles and those kind of things. But for me, from your background and seeing some of the journey that you went through to where you are today, that, assistant vice president for kind of a giant bank like that, with that type of portfolio, I think you've really, really pushed yourself, and I think that is the inspiration I want people to catch. That things are possible out there. Things are possible out there. They're probably talk about some of the some roadblocks and kind of challenges if you want to. That you probably may have faced. Because I know this is not easy, and coming from the backdrop that is not your country of birth, right? So there are cultural differences, certain nuances that you wouldn't know. You make mistakes that you don't even know they are mistakes, right? So how do you go through all those kind of myths?
You hit the nail on the head in the sense that one of the primary challenges of working in that country is that you're confronted with challenges as an immigrant. There are nuances that are specific to that experience.
Yes.
And so those are challenges that I've had to overcome, and roadblocks I've had to overcome, but they're not insurmountable in my opinion, because my challenge might take the form being in diaspora of that might be a big bucket in my challenges, but I can guarantee you that challenges are universal and take different forms. When you think of broadly speaking about challenges, don't think about it because, well, he's in the US, there are no challenges because he's in diaspora. No, there are challenges that I have to overcome day out. But the biggest challenge beyond the biggest challenge beyond that is the challenge of getting yourself out of the way. And what I mean by that is if you can get yourself out of the way, the possibilities are endless.
Endless.
And so in terms of getting myself out of the way, what does that mean? Let me unpack that a little bit. What does that mean? Unpack that. What does that mean? There were many times where I said I was trying to. I'm making this very relatable because I'm speaking from my own experience. Getting where don't worry about things you can't control.
Mm-hmm.
Worry about things that you can control.
Right.
And I think earlier in my career, it was just because the backdrop that Isaac shared with you. Just the backdrop is I'm an immigrant, all of that. There were things that I worried about that, frankly, I had no
I had
business
no
worrying
business
about.
worrying about. Yeah.
Yes, I had no business worrying about, because that is not what gets the job done. What
Yeah.
people are looking for is, what can you do for me? What value can you add to what this thing? And so you need to also, there's a sense of, you need to be confident in yourself that, you know what, you
Yes.
can deliver value. There's many times where I doubted, and I wish I had been more confident and assertive, and you know what, I can hold my head held high. And you remember I said, I don't have to have all the answers. If I don't have the
Yes.
answer now, it doesn't mean I cannot get to the answer. It means I just need to work a little bit more to get to the
Yeah.
answer. And so there are many times that, you know what, those I created those challenges for myself without even knowing, like Isaac said. And so the key to getting all of that, breaking all of the cycles or challenge is exposure. Exposing
Exposure.
yourself to, if it's somebody that you see that is doing something like this, and that you can relate to, that is doing what you think you want to be doing, try and reach out to that person and say, hey, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. The beauty about it is that everybody is happy to tell you from their own experience what they've seen, and nothing is new under the sun. I would
It's
tell you that
true.
there's nothing new. It's just, you know what, it might take a different form, a different shape, but the same universal principles for problem solving problem solving are universal. Whether you're in
Yes.
Ghana, whether you're in Nigeria, whether you're in the US, problem solving, it's the, they're universal, universal ways, principles for solving problems. And so gaining exposure to those, I think, would be very helpful. And so for me, I overcame some of my own challenges by just, you know what, persevering and being patient and saying, okay, you know what, I might not see. Steve Jobs said it best. You might not be able to connect all the dots looking forward, but when you look backwards, you're able to connect all the dots. Say, oh wow,
Yes.
you know what, this challenge that you perceive as a challenge. For me, I see challenges as an opportunity to expand yourself and grow.
Yes.
To know more about yourself and know more about the situation. That's what challenges are. So I see every challenge as an opportunity. I didn't used to. I honestly, I won't tell you, I used to see that every time. I used to at times get stuck. Oh, I'm confronting a challenge and spinning my wheels. But if you see every challenge as an opportunity for you to expand yourself, for you to think differently, and a lot of it is mentalities. It's how you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, asking questions, being curious, being, you know what? Okay, how do I say? Okay, is there somebody done this before? If somebody has
Before.
done it, consulting with that person, if you've done it for, how did you do it? And then you learn and add to your own solution. So, anyways,
Fantastic.
I think for me, getting myself out of the way, I wish I had done that earlier. I might have been further along, but at the same time, I have no regrets.
Yes.
Our experiences are all no two
Unique.
people,
I'm the same.
no two people, no matter how, whether you attend the same school, whether you do the same this thing, no two people's experiences are always going to be different, the same. Your experience is always going to be different, and so celebrate your own experience. Don't leave someone else's life or leave someone else's race. Leave your own experience, whatever your experience is. And I celebrate mine day in day out. So I have no regrets. Whatever roadblocks or challenges I've confronted, I've had to confront over the years. But it's just being patient and knowing that, you know what, this is not a new problem. It's, I can find for every problem out there, there's a solution. It's just seeking out the solution and being proactive about that and intentional about seeking out that solution. So,
yes. Fantastic. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Well,
so I think probably in trying to wrap up, where do you see the area, in terms of you're into credit risk, I think analysis, right?
Yeah.
You're into that. Where do you see, in terms of future, or in terms of what is coming up, what are some of the trends that you are seeing in that area? Because today there may be this kind of trend, but there may be something else.
Oh, yeah.
During our time, we didn't hear much about machine learning and all those kind of things, AI and those kind of things. So from where you sit, what are you seeing? Because sometimes we in Africa, we don't see sometimes the trees are too tall, or the mountains are too high. So our brother is on the mountaintop there. So what are some of the trends that you are seeing within that space of analysis and that kind of thing? What are you seeing?
Before I answer that question, here's what I would say. We need to. While we need to think globally, we need to act locally. And what I mean by that is this: is while the experiences might seem different for those of us in Ghana and Nigeria versus those of us in the US, like I said earlier in my last comment, problem solving is universal. We need to think of solving our problems. Yes, while we have a global perspective on things, the problems in the US, because of are different. But it's the same thinking or mindset that you use to solve problems, asking questions, interrogating the problems, and okay, let's think about solution different. Look at all possibilities that there are and align those different possibilities to, let's test them out and see. So I would encourage you that, while you want to think globally and think that yes, we're at the top, no. If we're to advance in the continent of Africa, we're going to have to think about problems, solve our problems locally. Now, in my space, what am I seeing? And I think it's what we're seeing across industry. Technology, which used to be a tool for everybody, back in the 2000s, has now become its own business.
Yes, it is.
And so what we're seeing in my space is the acceleration of the adoption of digital technology, because right now, the world's a virtual village. We used to say it's a global, it's a virtual village, and technology just opens the opportunities and doors. So when we're thinking of problem solving from a digital standpoint, meeting the consumer where they are at. For example, this podcast is happening by virtue of adoption of digital technology. Isaac is miles and miles away from me. And we're having this dialogue, having a conversation, and we're exposed. So that is what, in my space, we're looking to do, to meet our customers where they are, leveraging technology, because mobile phones are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. So how do we engage people on their mobile phones and on the internet, because the internet is here to stay, it's not going anywhere. And so that is what we're looking at. So that engaging in those spaces creates a lot of new data points, and data is king anywhere. And being able, Isaac threw some buzzwords at you: machine learning, AI. Those are the future. I'm still even trying to catch up with some of those, some of those. But you know what? I'm okay with those being unknown to me until I need to know them. So So don't feel like you have to know everything. Nobody knows all. Nobody knows all. You just you have to pick a few and leverage those to get you where you want to go. So if there was anything else you take away from what I'm saying, it's just digital technology and its adoption. And you have to think, some of our problems at home, we can solve them also using technology. It's not impossible. And so, I would strongly recommend that we for us, the younger generation in Africa, is we have to be the solution which we desire. We have to be the change. Change starts at the micro level. It starts with the individual. And so if you are being proactive in working towards whatever goal you're trying to work towards, day in, day out, scratching each day, I scratch the surface and peel the layer of the onion, you will ultimately get there. It takes a lot of belief and hope that you will get there. But I promise you, a shift in mindset is what is needed for us to change our situation. I'm not contrary to what anybody might think, I'm not from the richest of families. I'm from a very humble family. I'm a very, very humble family that I was fortunate, and I've been fortunate to be the US. But part of that fortune, I think, people create their luck somewhat. I believe, in the sense that by exposing yourself. And my father was a big avid reader, and it's because of his reading and that I think I'm in this country.
Wow!
Because he read far and wide and said, "Oh, my kids can go and get this," and he pursued it. If my father had never read that anywhere and said, I can bring that to my experience, I probably would not be sitting here.
Yes, the
Where I
story
am.
will be different. Yes.
Story different. So, if I'm throwing out any last words to anybody out there, continuous learning is mindset. Our mindset and how we think shapes our experience, honestly. And you might think that sounds very interesting. How does that apply to me at home in Ghana? I promise you, if you can think it, you can achieve
actualize it. Yeah,
you can actualize it. There are numerous examples out there. Like I said, I have humble beginnings. Contrary to I didn't live in a palace at home in Nigeria. I lived in an apartment complex like anybody else. Basically, I did things that I've experienced everything that you can think of, from the lowest to the lowest to the highest of the highest. Trust me, I have experienced it. I promise you that I have experienced it. I have soaked gari and granite as a meal. As a meal.
I think that is a very good point.
As a meal. So trust me, if you, I know Ghanaians, they know trotro.
Ghanaians call it soakings and trotro. We think trotro.
I've trotro. I've entered trotro.
Nigerians call it what? Is it keke nape or something like that? What's that?
Okada.
Okada. Which one is the keke one? Which one?
Keke Mara. Keke Mara is the one with 2 wheels and at the back. Yes.
Okay, and one in front.
Yeah, and one in front. So if I promise you, I promise you, I'm not blowing any smoke to anybody. I'm not listening. I have experienced. If you want to experience this, I've experienced the lows of the lows, and in my own experience, I celebrate the victory and the journey that is my story, and I'm sure that you too can do the same. It's just opening your mind.
Awesome.
Lifelong learning is willing to learn. And how do you learn? If there's somebody in your and we always limit our own resources in the sense that we think that I don't know anybody. I promise you, if you open your mind, there is somebody that can connect you, take you one step further that you personally know, that can connect you to where you think you want to go. And what I mean by that is, you know what? If you're trying to do something, if you search the universe of people that you know that have done that same thing, if there's one person that has done it that you know personally, you can start with that person. That person will lead you to another person, and so it has to be an intentional. You can't be passive.
Yes,
you have to be intentionally proactive about seeking that which you desire, and you can't be doing A and you want B outcome. It doesn't work that way. You have to do A to get A, B to do B, or A to get A. You have to match to the beat of the drum that you want. So that's what I'll leave you all with. If there's anything that you take away from this conversation, that's it's changing our mindset, and we can be the change that we desire.
Fantastic, man. Pereari, this has been an eye opener. I mean, I'm super pumped up already. If I was starting my career today, it's like, wow, I would say, man, I'm ready. Let's go. It's so. I mean, to wrap it up, I heard about the hard skills that if you want to get into the analytical space at that high level, first of all, you need to start small. But there are 3 foundational skills that you need to have. You need to have the query language skills, that SQL skills. You need to have the analytical skills via Microsoft Excel. You need to be able to know how to do presentation or slide design. It's whether you use PowerPoint or any other tool that will give you a stunning presentation deck. That's amazing. Then you also have to have the ability to communicate. Communication is key. You should be able to learn to be yourself. If you don't have the answers, own up. Hey, I don't have the answers, but I'm going to look for the answers.
Exactly.
I'll come back to you with the answers, and also having that confidence in you that you have something to bring to the table. And also you may. Yes, you may, as he said, you may have been born in the remotest part of town. It doesn't count. All that counts is now and what you're using your now for. So your ability to invest in yourself, on a consistent basis and being committed to the goal that this is what I want, that's what I'm going for. I think that you just Barry you just hit the nail on the head for us.
Oh yes,
man, we are blessed to have you, man. It's phenomenal.
I'm blessed to have you. And you hit the nail on the head. One just final story before we sign off, because you mentioned being born in the remotest part of college. Being born in the remotest part of the world anywhere. My father was born in a village back in the days, and there was no chance of education for my father. My father migrated from my village eventually to go to, back in the days, to one of the best universities in Nigeria and in the world, University of Lagos back in the days.
Wow. Yes, University of Lagos is top.
Yeah, it used to be top this thing back in the days. And the reason why I give that this thing is that, you know what, look, fast forward to his life and now my life as his generation, it's been night day and leaps and bounds, because my father made intentional choices to invest in learning and teaching himself. He, from his village, he slowly migrated and made it all the way to Lagos. And his greatest assets was being able to bless his children and people that he came into it by opening their minds. And so if I leave you with anything, I leave you with that, you know, if my father can go from the remote, even though I'm not the one that did it personally, if he can go from a remote fishing village to be this thing, I promise you that wherever you are and my voice is touching you right now, you and your generation can go places that you never imagined. You just have to be willing to do the work and invest in yourself and do the learning that you need to learn. You'll be surprised, and you surprise yourself and surprise the world about when you tell your own story. So that's what I leave you with. So
amazing.
I appreciate the time, Mr. Isaac. Thank you very much.
Amazing, brother. Man, that has been a blast
for having me here. And I hope this resonates with somebody out there.
Yeah, man, it's resonated with me. So be selfish enough, man. This is powerful. This is powerful, man. Thank you so much for your time, and then we will do well to catch up with you. Definitely, we've been blessed by your nuggets, man. It's awesome.